back together after the snap, but the scars ran deep. In a quiet Brooklyn apartment, Bucky Barnes stared at the vibranium shield leaning against the wall. It gleamed under the afternoon light, a symbol of legacy he wasn't sure he deserved. Steve Rogers, now an old man with silver hair and a cane, sat across from him, his eyes still sharp with that unyielding resolve. "It's yours now, Buck," Steve said, his voice steady but laced with the weight of years. "Sam's got his wings, but you've carried burdens heavier than most. This shield isn't just metal, it's a promise to protect the vulnerable." Bucky gripped the arm of his chair, his metal arm whirring softly. "Steve, I was the Winter Soldier. How can I be Captain America? The world's already falling apart again. That cosmic wave from Thanos' final snap, it's awakened something in people. Mutations, powers they can't control. Civilians turning into, I don't know, walking disasters." Steve nodded, leaning forward. "That's why it has to be you. Persevere through the chaos like we always did. Trust in yourself and in your friends. Sam's out there, carving his own path without me shadowing him. He's talking about rebuilding the Avengers, even roped in Victor Von Doom for help. That guy's a wild card, but he's got vision." Outside, the city hummed with unease. News reports blared from a nearby TV. Mutant outbreaks across New York, uncontrolled powers causing blackouts and fires. Mayor candidate Wilson Fisk promises safety through strict measures. Bucky stood, picking up the shield. It felt right in his hand, balanced and true. "All right, old man, but if this goes south, it's on you." Steve chuckled. "Wouldn't have it any other way." Later that evening, Bucky met Sam Wilson at a rooftop overlooking Manhattan. Sam, in his Falcon gear, hovered briefly before landing, his wings folding neatly. "Heard you got the shield. Congrats, Cap. Feels weird calling you that." "Feels weird hearing it," Bucky replied, slinging the shield onto his back. "Steve thinks I can handle this mutant mess. People are scared, Sam, and fear's a weapon." Sam crossed his arms, gazing at the skyline. "Tell me about it. Without Steve, I've got to make my own mark. Been scouting for a new team, folks like James Rhodes, maybe even some fresh faces. Doom's on board as UN ambassador for that new United Latveria. Guy's a genius with sorcery and science. Says he wants to protect the insecure, whatever that means. But this X-gene wave, it's creating opportunities for the wrong people." A distant explosion echoed, followed by screams. Bucky's enhanced senses picked up the chaos. A young woman in the streets below, her hands glowing with uncontrolled energy, accidentally shattering windows. Panicked civilians fled as police sirens wailed. "Like that," Bucky muttered, vaulting over the edge. Sam soared after him. They landed amid the frenzy. The woman, terrified, backed against a wall. "I didn't mean to, it just happened." Bucky approached slowly, shield raised defensively. "Hey, it's okay, we're here to help. I'm Captain America, what's your name?" "Layla," she whispered, tears streaming. Sparks danced from her fingertips. Sam scanned the area. "We need to get her somewhere safe. But look, Fisk's campaign posters everywhere, stirring up anti-mutant hysteria. He's using this to run for mayor, with some guy named Stryker managing his show." As Bucky calmed Leela, guiding her energy with gentle words, a shadow loomed. Taskmaster, clad in his skull mask and tactical gear, emerged from an alley, sword drawn. "Well, if it isn't the new Star-Spangled Man. Kingpin sends his regards. These mutants, perfect for our new market." Bucky hurled the shield, which ricocheted off a lamppost and back to him after clipping Taskmaster's arm. "Not on my watch." Taskmaster dodged, mimicking Bucky's moves with eerie precision. "You can't protect them all. Fear's already winning." Sam dove in, wings slicing the air, forcing Taskmaster back. "We've got allies, pal. Matt Murdock's been tipping us off about Fisk's underground dealings. Even Doom's offering tech to contain these powers." The fight spilled into the street, Bucky's super soldier strength clashing against Taskmaster's cockpit agility. A crowd gathered, some cheering, others whispering about the mutant threat. Leela, inspired by Bucky's stand, focused her energy into a controlled burst that knocked Taskmaster off balance. "Thanks," Bucky said to her, as Taskmaster retreated into the shadows. "You just saved the day." But as police arrived, one officer sneered, "Fisk will handle freaks like her." Sam pulled Bucky aside. "This is bigger than one fight. Kingpin's allying with Typhoid Mary and others. We need a plan, courage to face the storm." Bucky nodded, shield heavy but resolute. The cosmic wave had unleashed potential and peril, and he was the line between them. With friends like Sam and unexpected allies like Doom, he'd persevere. Trust would be their anchor in the rising chaos. In a dimly lit office across town, Wilson Fisk smiled at the news feed. The new Captain America, perfect scapegoat. Stryker, accelerate the campaign. These mutants will hand me the city. Bucky Barnes trudged through the dimly lit streets of Hell's Kitchen, the shield strapped to his back feeling like an anchor rather than a badge of honor. The encounter with Taskmaster earlier that evening lingered in his mind, a stark reminder of the brewing storm. Layla, the young mutant they'd helped, was now under Sam's watchful eye, hidden away in a safe house run by some of Sam's old military contacts. But the fear in her eyes mirrored Bucky's own doubts. Could he really step into Steve's shoes amid this chaos? He pushed open the door to a nondescript law office, the sign reading Nelson and Murdoch flickering under a faulty bulb. Matt Murdoch, clad in a sharp suit that belied his nighttime vigilante pursuits, sat behind a cluttered desk, his red-tinted glasses reflecting the low light. Foggy Nelson had long since gone home, leaving the space quiet except for the hum of the city outside. Bucky, Matt greeted, his head tilting slightly as if sensing the super soldier's unease. Or should I say Captain America, heard about the scuffle downtown, taskmasters getting bold. Bucky dropped into a chair, the wood creaking under his weight. Yeah, well, he's not the only one. Fisk is pulling strings again. From what Sam and I saw, his campaign's everywhere preying on this mutant panic. But how? I thought he was locked up after that last bust. Matt's lips curved into a grim smile. He is. Riker's Island maximum security, but Wilson Fisk doesn't need freedom to rule. He's got allies on the outside, Taskmaster, Typhoid Mary, even Bullseye lurking in the shadows. And inside, guards on his payroll, visitors who aren't just lawyers. He's rebuilt his empire from a cell, using the cosmic wave as his ladder. That snap didn't just bring back the vanished. It unleashed the X-gene, turning ordinary folks into potential weapons or victims. Fisk sees opportunity in the fear. Bucky leaned forward, his metal arm glinting. Opportunity how? Matt slid a folder across the desk, its contents spilling out photos and transcripts. He's running for mayor, even from prison. Campaign managed by William Stryker, a real piece of work with a history of anti-mutant rhetoric. Fisk's promising safety measures, registration, containment camps disguised as shelters. But it's a front. He's exploiting these new mutants, recruiting the desperate ones into his gang, blackmailing others, and stirring public hysteria to sway votes. If he wins, New York becomes his playground again, mutants as scapegoats or soldiers. The words hit Bucky like a gut punch. He flipped through the documents, seeing grainy images of Fisk in his prison jumpsuit, conferring with suited men through plexiglass. One photo showed Typhoid Mary, her dual personas evident in her wild eyes, slipping into a back alley with a crate marked experimental tech. Taskmaster's skull mask appeared in another, training a group of hooded figures whose hands crackled with unnatural energy. Mutants, no doubt. This is bigger than I thought, Bucky muttered, his voice laced with hesitation. Steve handed me the shield, said I could handle it. But look at me. I'm 140 years old, haunted by decades as a killer. How do I fight a shadow empire when I can barely trust myself? Matt stood, circling the desk with uncanny precision despite his blindness. Doubts are human, Bucky. Even Steve had them, but you've got friends who believe in you. Sam Wilson's out there, forging his own path without Steve's shadow. He's scouting for a new Avengers team, even partnering with Victor Von Doom. That Latvian ambassador's no saint, but his sorcery and science could turn the tide. And me? Daredevil's ready to hit the streets with you. Respect that trust, it's what'll get us through. Bucky's jaw tightened. Matt was right. Isolation had been his enemy before. Flashes of his Winter Soldier days surfaced, cold missions, lost control. But so did memories of Steve's unwavering faith pulling him back from the brink. If he didn't act, more like Leela would suffer, manipulated by Fisk's web. A sudden vibration from Bucky's comm device interrupted his thoughts. Sam's voice crackled through. Buck, you there? Just got a tip from Rhodes. Doom's inviting us to a meet at the UN embassy. Says he's got intel on containing the X-gene outbreaks, some dark blue sorcery blend with tech. But there's chatter. Fisk's gang is targeting a mutant safe haven tonight. Typhoid Mary's leading the charge. We need to move. Bucky rose, shield in hand. The call to action burned in his chest, pushing past the doubts. I'm in, Sam. Tell Doom we're coming. Fisk thinks he can rule from behind bars. We'll show him fear works both ways. As he stepped out into the night, Bucky felt a spark of courage ignite. The cosmic wave had shattered the ordinary, birthing heroes and horrors alike. But with allies like Matt and Sam, trust could be his strongest weapon. Across the river in Riker's fortified walls, Wilson Fisk paced his cell, a smuggled phone in hand. Stryker, escalate the ads. Paint Captain America as a mutant sympathizer, unstable, dangerous. And Mary, make sure that safe haven burns. The city will beg for my protection. Bucky hailed a cab, mind racing. Embracing this role meant facing not just enemies, but the shadows within. Yet for the first time since taking the shield, he felt ready to charge forward, courage tempering his fears. The cab sped toward the UN building, where Victor Von Doom awaited in his emerald cloak, his handsome features set in a calculating gaze. Captain Barnes, Doom intoned as Bucky arrived, his voice laced with aristocratic wit. The stars align for chaos, but mathematics and magic offer order. Join me, and we shall protect the insecure from themselves, and from predators like Fisk. Sam landed nearby, wings retracting. Doom's got a prototype device, combines his sorcery with Reed Richards' astrophysics. Could stabilize mutant powers temporarily, but we need to test it in the field. That safe haven attack, it's our chance. Bucky nodded, gripping the shield tighter. Doubts lingered, but action called louder. Let's go. Friendship got us this far, respect and trust will see us through the fight. In the shadows, Typhoid Mary's laughter echoed, her feverish persona eager for mayhem. The battle lines were drawn, Fisk's prison empire the unseen hand guiding the chaos. Bucky, the reluctant Captain America, stepped into the fray, courage his newfound ally. The cab's tires screeched as it hurtled through the rain-slicked streets of New York, the city lights blurring into streaks of neon. Bucky Barnes gripped the edge of the seat, his vibranium arm humming faintly with tension. Sam Wilson soared overhead, his falcon wings cutting through the downpour, a shadow against the stormy sky. Victor Von Doom had insisted on joining them, his emerald cloak billowing as he levitated alongside, propelled by threads of dark blue sorcery that crackled like distant lightning. The UN ambassador's face was a mask of calculated calm, his handsome features etched with that dry, aristocratic wit that made Bucky wonder if the man ever truly relaxed. Captain Barnes, Doom's voice echoed in Bucky's calm, smooth and laced with irony. One might think you're racing to your own funeral, given that grim expression. Mathematics suggests a 78% chance of success tonight, provided you don't let sentiment cloud your judgment. Bucky didn't respond. His mind was a whirlwind, not of strategies or sorcery, but of ghosts. The shield on his back felt heavier than ever, a symbol of Steve's faith that now mocked him. Why me? The question looped endlessly. Steve had chosen him over Sam, believing Bucky's scarred history made him the guardian these new mutants needed. But as the safe haven, a converted warehouse on the edge of Brooklyn, loomed ahead, doubts clawed at him. Flashes assaulted his thoughts. The Winter Soldier's cold precision, assassinations in shadowed alleys, the Hydra programming that turned him into a weapon. He'd killed innocents, manipulated minds, destroyed lives. How could a man with blood-soaked hands wield the shield? The cosmic wave from Thanos' snap had awakened the X-gene in civilians, birthing powers that mirrored his own inner chaos, uncontrolled, dangerous. What if he failed them? What if he became the monster again? The cab skidded to a halt and Bucky stepped out into the pelting rain. Smoke already curled from the warehouse, flames licking at the edges despite the storm. Screams pierced the night, mutants fleeing as figures in dark tactical gear herded them like cattle. At the center stood Typhoid Mary, her lithe form twisting between personas. One moment she was Mary, innocent and wide-eyed. The next, Typhoid, a feverish whirlwind of telekinetic fury, hurling debris with waves of psychic energy. There she is, Sam said, landing beside Bucky with a soft thud. His eyes scanned the chaos, wings folding neatly. Fisk's attack dog. We take her down, we buy these people time. Doom's got that stabilizer prototype, could calm the mutants' powers mid-fight. Doom nodded, a orb of dark blue light forming in his palm. Indeed, a fusion of sorcery and science courtesy of my collaborations with Richards and Parks, but it requires proximity. Captain, shall we? Bucky froze, rain streaming down his face. The scene before him blurred with memories. A Siberian bunker, Steve's battered form, the shield clanging against Iron Man's armor. He'd fought then, but for redemption, not leadership. Now, with the world fracturing under mutant fears, Fisk exploiting the panic from his prison cell, Bucky questioned everything. Sam was building his own legacy, scouting Avengers candidates without Steve's guidance. Even Doom, with his tragic past in war-torn Latveria, pursued power to shield the vulnerable. They trusted Bucky to lead, but did he trust himself? Buck, Sam's voice cut through the haze, concern etching his features. We need you, man. These folks are counting on us. Remember what Steve said, perseverance isn't about being perfect, it's about showing up. Friendship, respect, trust. The words echoed from their earlier talks, from Steve's quiet encouragement in Brooklyn. Sam had stood by Bucky through the worst, never judging the Winter Soldier's shadow. Doom, for all his ambition, had rebuilt nations post-snap, forging united Latveria from ruins. They believed in him. But the hesitation gripped tighter, a refusal born of fear, not cowardice. Typhoid Mary's laughter rang out, manic and echoing. She spotted them, her eyes flashing with dual madness. Oh, look, the Tin Soldier and his birdie friend. Come to play hero. Fisk sends his regards. He'll own the city soon, mutants and all. She unleashed a psychic blast, uprooting a nearby car and flinging it toward them. Doom countered with a barrier of sorcery, the dark blue energy absorbing the impact. Sam dove aside, firing repulsors from his suit. But Bucky remained rooted, the shield unslung but idle in his grasp. I'm not ready, his mind screamed. Visions of past failures flooded in. The snap's void, losing Steve's vitality to time, the X-Gene's wild eruptions mirroring his own fractured psyche. If he charged in, what if his instability endangered everyone? Fisk's empire thrived on such doubts, his mayoral bid fueled by Stryker's anti-mutant propaganda. Bucky could see it, posters plastered across the city, painting Captain America as a relic, unstable amid the chaos. Barnes, Doom's tone sharpened, aristocratic poise cracking. Hesitation is the enemy of progress. I lost my mother to fear-mongers. I will not lose this battle to yours. Trust in the alliances we've forged. Sam grabbed Bucky's shoulder, his grip firm yet reassuring. Hey, we've got your back. You're not the Winter Soldier anymore, you're Cap. These mutants, they're like us, thrown into a world that doesn't make sense. We fight for them together. The words pierced the fog. Trust wasn't earned in isolation. It was built through shared struggles. Steve had trusted him enough to pass the mantle. Sam respected him as an equal, not a shadow. Even Doom, with his mastery over sciences and sorcery, offered alliance without condescension. Perseverance meant pushing through the internal storm. A young mutant stumbled from the warehouse, flames reflecting in his terrified eyes, hands sparking with uncontrolled electricity. Typhoid Mary advanced on him, her typhoid persona dominant, flames dancing in her wake from pyrokinesis. No more hesitation. Bucky's jaw set, the refusal crumbling under the weight of necessity. He chose to act. Cover me, he growled, slinging the shield forward. It ricocheted off a wall, slamming into Mary's side and sending her sprawling. She recovered with a snarl, switching to her Mary persona, deceptively fragile, pleading, "Please, don't hurt me." But Bucky pressed on, dodging a telekinetic shove. Sam provided aerial support, distracting her with dives and blasts. Doom channeled his sorcery, the stabilizer orb pulsing, targeting the boys' erratic powers and calming them to a manageable glow. Typhoid shifted again, unleashing a barrage of psychic daggers. Bucky deflected them with the shield, closing the distance. This ends now, Mary. Fisk can't hide behind you forever. She laughed, feverish. You think you're worthy, a broken assassin playing dress-up. Her words stung, echoing his doubts, but he persevered. With a powerful leap, he tackled her, the shield pinning her arms. Sam swooped in, restraining her with reinforced cables. Doom sealed the deal with a binding spell, dark blue chains coiling around her. As the flames died down and mutants emerged warily, Bucky stood amid the wreckage, breathing heavily. The confrontation had forced him to face his shadows, emerging stronger. Sam clapped his shoulder. See, trust yourself, Buck, we did it. Doom inclined his head, a rare smile touching his lips. A tactical victory, but Fisk's web extends far. This is merely the opening gambit. Bucky nodded, the shield feeling a fraction lighter. He'd chosen to confront her, stepping past refusal. Yet the deeper war loomed, Fisk's influence, the mutant crisis, his own lingering demons. Friendship had pulled him through. Respect and trust would carry them forward. The morning sun filtered through the cracked blinds of Steve Rogers' modest Brooklyn apartment, casting long shadows across the worn wooden floor. Bucky Barnes stood by the window, the Captain America shield propped against the wall like an old friend. He'd come here straight after the warehouse skirmish, the scent of smoke still clinging to his jacket. Steve, now an old man with silver hair and a cane leaning against his armchair, watched him with those piercing blue eyes that hadn't dimmed with age. You look like you've seen a ghost, Buck, Steve said, his voice gravelly but warm. He gestured to the chair opposite him. Sit, talk to me. Bucky sank into the seat, his vibranium arm resting heavily on his knee. The events of the night replayed in his mind. Typhoid Mary's chaotic assault, the mutants' terrified faces, Sam's steadfast support, and Victor Von Doom's arcane interventions. They'd won a battle, but the war against Wilson Fisk loomed larger. I took her down, Steve, Typhoid Mary, but it felt off, like I'm still fighting myself more than the enemy. Steve nodded slowly, leaning forward. That's the weight of it, isn't it? The shield isn't just metal, it's a promise. To protect, to persevere. I gave it to you because I trust you've got what it takes. Your past, it's part of you, but it doesn't define you anymore. Remember, friendship and respect aren't handed out, they're earned through the fire. You've got Sam and now this Doom fellow. Build on that trust, it's your strongest weapon. Bucky absorbed the words, feeling a flicker of resolve. Steve had always been the anchor, the mentor who saw potential where others saw wreckage. Sam's out there rebuilding the Avengers without you. He's scouting candidates, making his own path. And Doom, he's complicated. Lost his mother young, rebuilt his country after the snap. Says he wants to protect the vulnerable, but his methods. Sorcery, science, it's a lot to swallow. Trust your instincts, Steve advised, a faint smile creasing his face. Allies come in all forms. If he's offering help against Fisk, take it. The world's changed, mutants popping up everywhere from that cosmic wave. Fear's a powerful tool, and Fisk knows it. Don't let doubt cripple you. Lead with heart, Buck. That's what makes a captain. The conversation lingered, Steve sharing stories from his own early days, reinforcing the bonds of trust that had carried them through wars and losses. By the time Bucky left, the shield felt more like an extension of himself, not a burden. He met Sam Wilson at a nondescript cafe in Midtown, the kind where suits blended with street vendors. Sam was already there, nursing a coffee, his falcon suit disguised under a long coat. "How'd it go with Steve?" he asked, sliding a tablet across the table. "Good. Reminded me why we're in this," Bucky replied, glancing at the screen. It showed schematics of Fisk's operations pieced together from Matt Murdock's intel. Said to build on trust. Speaking of, where's our Latvian friend? As if on cue, Victor Von Doom entered, his presence commanding even in civilian attire, a tailored suit that hid the armor beneath. His handsome features were set in a mask of aristocratic poise, dark hair neatly combed, standing at an even 6 feet. He took a seat, his voice carrying that dry wit. "Gentlemen, I trust the elder Rogers provided sage counsel. One does not reach 140 years without accumulating wisdom, Captain Barnes." Bucky smirked despite himself. "Something like that. Let's cut to it. Fisk is running his empire from Rikers, using Stryker to push his mayoral bid, exploiting mutant fear to rebuild power. We need a plan to expose him for good." Sam leaned in, his 38-year-old frame exuding the confidence of someone forging his own legacy. Without Steve's shadow, he was stepping up, eyes sharp. "Agreed. I've been scouting for a new Avengers team. Elena Belova's in her skills could help with infiltration. John Walker's got issues, but his strength might be useful if we keep him in check. And this Tremors guy, Matthew Darling. His seismic powers could shake things up literally. But first, Fisk. Murdoch's got dirt on the prison visits. Typhoid Mary smuggling in tech. Taskmaster training mutants for Fisk's crew." Doom's eyes gleamed with tactical acumen. He conjured a holographic display from a small device, threads of dark blue sorcery weaving through scientific projections. Equations danced in the air, mapping probabilities. Fisk's web is intricate, born of chemistry and calculation, much like my own pursuits. His allies, Taskmaster, that unstable Mary, Bullseye, the Tinkerer, they thrive on chaos, but we can turn it against him. My prototype stabilizer, refined with Reed Richards' astrophysics and Arthur Park's laser tech, can contain mutant outbursts. Use it to protect civilians during our move. Bucky studied the hologram, showing Fisk's campaign headquarters in Manhattan, linked to Rikers via encrypted channels. "We ally with Murdoch fully. He's got the legal angle Daredevil's senses could detect hidden ops. Plan: infiltrate the headquarters, gather irrefutable evidence of Fisk's mutant exploitation. Expose the smuggling, the forced recruitments. Sam, you handle aerial recon and team assembly. Doom, your sorcery masks our entry. I'll lead the ground assault." Sam nodded, respect evident in his gaze. "Sounds solid, but we need to watch for betrayals. Fisk has eyes everywhere, corrupt guards, maybe even in the UN. And those mutants he's twisting, we save them, not fight them." Doom inclined his head, his charismatic tone laced with irony. "A noble sentiment. I too seek to shield the insecure. Latveria and Sokovia rose from ashes under my guidance. This mutant crisis is but another equation to solve. Trust in my mastery. Sorcery bends reality, science quantifies it." They delved deeper, hashing out contingencies. Bucky felt the alliance solidify, Sam's unwavering friendship, Doom's calculated brilliance, and the looming support from Murdoch. Matt arrived midway, his blind eyes hidden behind red-tinted glasses, cane tapping rhythmically. "Fisk's been my shadow for years," he said, voice low. "His empire crumbled post-snap, but now he's rebuilding on fear. I've got recordings, Stryker meeting with him, discussing mutant containment that's really enslavement. With your team, we can dismantle it." Bucky extended his hand, the group shaking on it. Trust wove through their pact, respect for each other's strengths binding them. As they parted, Bucky glanced back at Doom. The ambassador's past, losing his mother to execution in war-torn Latveria, rising through orphanages and sorcery, mirrored Bucky's own redemption arc. Allies forged in fire. Yet as they prepared to cross into the fray, Bucky couldn't shake the undercurrent of unease. Fisk's reach was vast, and with enemies like Taskmaster lurking, one wrong move could unravel everything. But with Steve's words echoing, he pressed on, ready to expose the Kingpin's shadows. The neon glow of Manhattan's skyline pierced the evening haze as Bucky Barnes led his makeshift team through the back alleys toward Fisk's campaign headquarters. The building loomed like a fortress of glass and steel, its facade plastered with slogans promising security in uncertain times. Bucky adjusted the strap of the shield on his back, his vibranium arm humming faintly with tension. Beside him, Sam Wilson moved with quiet assurance, his wings folded under a nondescript jacket, eyes scanning the rooftops. Victor Von Doom followed, his presence a blend of regal calm and latent power, dark blue sorcery subtly cloaking their approach in illusions of shadow. Matt Murdoch, cane in hand, navigated the urban labyrinth with uncanny precision, his senses attuned to every heartbeat and whisper. Elena Belova, the sharp-eyed operative, flanked them, her widow's bite gauntlets ready. They'd recruited her en route, her skills in espionage a perfect fit for this incursion. Matthew Darling, known as Tremors, brought up the rear, his seismic abilities held in check but promising controlled chaos if needed. John Walker lingered a step behind, his own shield a stark reminder of past rivalries, but Bucky had extended an olive branch. Trust had to start somewhere. "Remember, we're ghosts until we're not," Bucky murmured, his voice low. "Get in, access the servers, leak the evidence of Fisk's mutant trafficking and prison schemes to the net. No heroics unless it goes south." Sam nodded, a grin flashing. "You've got this, Cap. Steve picked you for a reason, your instincts, your grit. We're with you." Doom's lips curved in that dry, aristocratic smile. "Indeed, my sorcery will veil us from prying eyes, but mathematics dictates a narrow window. Fisk security is a web of probabilities. I've calculated our success at 87%, assuming no variables like betrayal." Murdoch tilted his head, listening to the distant hum of electronics. "Fisk's heartbeat is steady in Rikers, but his influence pulses here. I can smell the corruption, Stryker's cologne mixed with fear sweat. Let's dismantle it." Elena slipped ahead, her lithe form vanishing into the service entrance. "I've cracked worse locks in my sleep. Follow my lead." They moved as one, a testament to budding alliances. Bucky felt the weight of leadership settle, not as a burden now, but as a mantle woven from shared purpose. Steve's words echoed, trust earned through fire. Inside, the headquarters buzzed with late-night activity, campaign staffers typing furiously, oblivious to the intruders slipping past under Doom's illusory shroud. Tremors hung back, his hands pressed to the floor, sensing vibrations. Clear path to the server room. No patrols for the next 2 minutes. Walker grunted, eyes narrow. "This better work. I didn't sign up to play nice with Latverian wizards." "You signed up to protect people," Bucky shot back, voice firm but not harsh. "That's what binds us. Respect for the vulnerable, trust in the fight. Prove it." They reached the server room, a humming chamber of blinking lights and whirring fans. Elena interfaced with the console, her fingers dancing over keys. Accessing now. Fisk's files, prison visit logs, mutant recruitment orders, Stryker's dirty deals. Uploading to anonymous nets. Done. The world's about to see the Kingpin's true face. Doom enhanced the breach with a flicker of sorcery, encrypting their traces while amplifying the leak's reach. The data spreads like a virus. Public outrage will be our ally. Sam monitored comms from a vantage point. Leaks going viral. Social feeds lighting up. Mutant rights groups are already mobilizing. Fisk's campaign is crumbling. For a moment, victory hummed in the air, alliances tested and holding. Bucky allowed himself a breath, glancing at his team. Friendship forged in shadows, respect in action. This was the path forward. Then chaos erupted. A dart whistled through the air, embedding in the wall inches from Elena's head. Bullseye stepped from the shadows, his grin feral, a deck of razor-edged cards fanned in his hand. Party crashers. Fisk sends his regards. Typhoid Mary materialized beside him, her form shifting between seductive calm and raging fury, flames licking her fingertips. Oh, darlings, you've poked the hornet's nest. Burn for it. Taskmaster followed, mimicking Bucky's shield throws with eerie precision, his sword drawn. Behind them, Fisk's gang poured in, thugs enhanced with Tinkerer tech, some displaying unstable mutant powers, eyes glowing with coerced energy. Ambush, Bucky shouted, hefting the shield and charging. He deflected a hail of Bullseye's projectiles, the vibranium ringing like a bell. Sam, aerial support. Doom contained the mutants. Sam's wings unfurled, launching him upward to dive-bomb the gang, disrupting their formation. On it, watch your flanks. Doom raised his hands, dark blue arcs weaving barriers, stabilizing a thug's erratic energy blasts. Fascinating, the X-Gene's volatility, but not unbreakable. Murdoch flipped over a console, his billy clubs cracking against Taskmaster's blade. I hear your moves before you make them. Sloppy. Alina fired stings at Mary, dodging telekinetic bursts. This one's unhinged. Cover me. Tremors stomped, sending shockwaves that toppled several goons. Ground's mine, eat dirt. Walker clashed with Bullseye, their shields clanging in a brutal dance. Finally, some real action. Bucky faced Taskmaster directly, their styles mirroring in a deadly ballet. You're just a copycat, no soul behind it. He spun, shield bashing the villain back, but Mary unleashed a pyrokinetic wave, forcing him to dive. The room devolved into frenzy, furniture splintering, sparks flying from damaged servers. Fisk's forces pressed, their numbers swelling. A mutant thug hurled energy bolts, nearly singeing Doom, who countered with a sorceress bind. We leaked the info, now we hold the line, Bucky yelled, rallying them. Trust held them together amid the storm, respect fueling each block and strike. But as Bullseye's laugh echoed and Mary's flames roared higher, Bucky knew this was just the threshold crossed. The real fray had begun. The server room erupted into a maelstrom of violence, the air thick with the scent of ozone and singed metal. Bucky Barnes, shield raised, deflected another volley from Taskmaster's mimicked throws, the impacts reverberating through his vibranium arm. Around him, his team fought with desperate synergy. Sam Wilson soared overhead, his wings slicing through the chaos to scatter Fisk's enhanced thugs. Victor Von Doom wove barriers of shimmering dark blue energy, corralling a mutant enforcer's wild blasts. Matt Murdoch's billy clubs whirled like extensions of his will, cracking against armored foes. Alina Beloved dodged with lethal grace, her stings paralyzing a pair of goons. John Walker clashed shields with Bullseye, their grunts echoing off the walls. And Matthew Darling tremors, knelt with palms pressed to the floor, vibrations humming beneath everyone's feet. We can't hold this forever, Bucky shouted over the din, his voice steady despite the adrenaline surging through him. The data leak was done, Fisk's secrets exposed to the world, but survival now trumped victory. Fall back, tremors, give us cover. Matthew nodded, his face set in grim determination. On it, Cap. He slammed his hands down, channeling his seismic gift. The ground trembled, a localized quake rippling outward. Consoles shattered, sparks flying as the floor buckled under Fisk's forces. Bullseye stumbled, his deadly aim disrupted, while Typhoid Mary's flames flickered erratically. Taskmaster leaped aside, but several thugs collapsed in the upheaval, their Tinkerer-upgraded gear sparking and failing. Move, Bucky commanded, leading the retreat through the fractured doorway. Sam swooped low, grabbing Alina to lift her over a collapsing section. Doom conjured a illusory fog to mask their exit, his dry wit cutting through the tension. A tactical withdrawal, not defeat. Probability favors the prepared. Murdoch tapped his cane, senses mapping the path. Service stairs left clear for now. Walker shoved a recovering goon aside, his expression a mix of reluctance and resolve. This alliance better be worth it, Barnes. I'm not used to running. It's not running, it's strategy, Bucky replied, clapping Walker's shoulder as they burst into the hallway. Trust me on this. We've got each other's backs. The team spilled into the night, the cool Manhattan air a stark contrast to the inferno behind. Alarms blared from the headquarters, red lights flashing across the street. But freedom was fleeting. Shouts echoed from the building, and Typhoid Mary exploded through a side door, her form ablaze with pyrokinetic fury, personalities shifting in a manic dance. Taskmaster followed, his agile frame vaulting over debris, sword gleaming under streetlights. They're on us, Sam warned, wings unfurling for another pass. Split and evade, Bucky ordered. Rendezvous at the safe house in Hell's Kitchen. Sam, scout for Avengers prospects while we're mobile. Doom mentioned leads on powered individuals who could join us. Sam nodded, veering skyward. Got it. There's a telepath in Queens I've been eyeing, could be a game changer for the new team. Stay safe down there. The chase ignited through the labyrinthine streets. Mary hurled fireballs that scorched parked cars, her laughter alternating between sultry taunts and enraged screams. Come back, little soldiers. Mary wants to play. Taskmaster mirrored Bucky's evasive rolls, closing the gap with copied precision. He flung an improvised projectile, a manhole cover, whistling toward Doom, who deflected it with a sorceress shield. Your mimicry is impressive, but lacks originality, Doom remarked, countering with a bolt of dark energy that forced Taskmaster to dodge. Bucky weaved through traffic, shield blocking a flaming arc from Mary. Elena fired back, her gauntlets crackling, but Mary's telekinesis swatted the shots aside. Tremors ran alongside, periodically stamping the ground to create barriers of cracked asphalt, slowing their pursuers. Keep it up, Matthew, Bucky encouraged. You're buying us time, that's respect earned in the field. Matthew grinned through gritted teeth. Friends like you make it worth the shake-up, but they're gaining. Walker, pounding pavement beside Murdoch, glanced at Bucky. This is insane. Why not stand and fight? Because we're building something bigger, Bucky said, voice firm. A team that lasts. Trust isn't just in the wins, it's in the retreats, the moments we cover each other. Steve taught me that. A flicker of understanding crossed Walker's face. But doubt lingered. Earlier, in the server room, Bucky had caught Walker hesitating during Bullseye's assault, as if old grudges tempted him to falter. Now, as Mary closed in, unleashing a wave of heat that blistered the air, Walker surged forward, his shield intercepting the blast meant for Murdoch. Thanks, Murdoch said, breathless. Didn't see that coming. Wait, I did, but still. Walker smirked. Figured it's time to earn my keep. No more lone wolf crap. The pursuit veered into a construction site, scaffolding and cranes casting long shadows under the moon. Taskmaster scaled a beam, raining down copied shield throws. Bucky countered, his own shield ricocheting to clip the villain's mask. Mary levitated debris, hurling it like missiles. Doom paused, hands glowing. Enough! He summoned a vortex of dark blue light, pulling Mary into a temporary bind, her flames sputtering. Flee while you can, witch. Latveria's ambassador has no patience for your games. But Taskmaster broke free, tackling Bucky from above. They tumbled across gravel, fists and blades flashing. You've got the moves, Barnes, but I learn faster, Taskmaster sneered. Bucky rolled, pinning him momentarily. Speed isn't everything, it's who you're fighting for. With a surge, he bashed Taskmaster back, buying space. Elena and Tremors combined forces, her stings stunning Mary as she escaped Doom's hold, while seismic waves toppled a scaffold onto Taskmaster, burying him in rubble. They're down but not out, Bucky panted, regrouping the team. Sam circled back, reporting via comms. Found a candidate, a speedster in Brooklyn. Could bolster our ranks, but Fisk's rallying more forces. We need to lay low. As they melted into the night, bonds tightened. Walker's hesitation had transformed into loyalty, a betrayal averted through shared peril. Bucky felt the mantle of Captain America fit better, forged in the fire of friendship and mutual respect. Yet, Fisk's shadow loomed larger, his empire adapting to the exposed truths. The tests were far from over. The Manhattan skyline blurred into a haze of neon and shadow as Bucky Barnes and his team melted into the night, hearts pounding from the narrow escape. The air was thick with the acrid tang of scorched pavement, remnants of Typhoid Mary's fiery onslaught. They split into pairs to evade any lingering pursuit, Sam Wilson taking to the skies with Elena Belova in tow, Victor Von Doom vanishing into a swirl of dark blue mist, Matt Murdock navigating the alleys with his uncanny precision, John Walker and Matthew Darling covering the rear with wary glances. Bucky led the way, his vibranium arm humming faintly from the strain, Steve's shield strapped securely to his back like a steadfast companion. They reconvened at the Hell's Kitchen safe house, a nondescript brownstone fortified with Doom's subtle wards and Murdoch's legal ingenuity. The group collapsed into worn armchairs and mismatched couches, the adrenaline crash leaving them silent at first. Sam flicked on the ancient television, its screen flickering to life with breaking news banners. Look at this, Sam said, a grin breaking through his exhaustion. Our leak's gone viral. Fisk's campaign is imploding. The reporter's voice filled the room. Scandal rocks Wilson Fisk's mayoral bid as leaked documents reveal ties to mutant trafficking and prison corruption. Protests erupt outside his headquarters, with calls for immediate investigation. Stryker, his campaign manager, denies all allegations, but sources confirm arrests are imminent. Bucky leaned back, a rare sense of accomplishment washing over him. The shield felt less like a burden now, more like an extension of his resolve. "We did it," he murmured, glancing at the team. "Not just me, us. Steve was right, it's about who you stand with." Doom nodded, his aristocratic features softened by the dim light. A calculated strike. The probability of Fisk's recovery diminishes by the hour, yet power vacuums invite chaos. Elena crossed her arms, her voice laced with dry humor. "Chaos we can handle, better than letting that monster play mayor." Matthew Darling, still buzzing from his seismic exertions, raised a fist. "Feels good to shake things up for the right reasons. Respect to you, Cap, you led us through hell." John Walker, rubbing a bruise on his jaw, met Bucky's eyes. "Yeah, about that. I almost bylaid back there. Old habits, but seeing you all fight, no questions asked. That's trust I haven't earned in a while. Count me in for the long haul." Bucky extended his hand, flesh meeting flesh in a firm grip. "We all have shadows, Walker. What matters is stepping into the light together. Friendship isn't perfect, it's persistent." Murdoch tilted his head, senses attuned to the group's subtle shifts, the steady heartbeats, the easing tensions. "This alliance, it's stronger than any of Fisk's schemes, but let's not celebrate too soon. The news is still rolling." As if on cue, the broadcast cut to an urgent update. The anchor's tone sharpened. "We interrupt with breaking news from Rikers Island. Wilson Fisk, the controversial mayoral candidate, has been found dead in his cell. Authorities report an apparent assassination. Details are scarce, but prison guards discovered the body moments ago. Stay tuned for more." The room froze. Sam bolted upright. "Assassinated? Who the hell?" Bucky's mind raced, piecing together fragments of doubt he'd harbored. Fisk had seemed untouchable, his plans too meticulously layered. This doesn't add up. He was pulling strings from in there. Why now? Doom's eyes narrowed, a faint glow emanating from his fingertips as he probed the ether with sorcery. Intriguing. The threads of fate twist unexpectedly. The television crackled again, the feed switching to a chaotic scene at the prison. Reporters swarmed, cameras flashing. A police spokesperson stepped to the podium, face ashen. "Update on the Rikers incident. Upon investigation, the body identified as Wilson Fisk is not human. Forensic analysis confirms it's a Skrull, an extraterrestrial shapeshifter. The real Fisk's whereabouts are unknown. This revelation has profound implications for ongoing investigations." A collective gasp rippled through the safe house. Elena swore in Russian, her composure cracking. A Skrull, like those invaders from the old SHIELD files. Fisk was a fake this whole time. Sam paced, wings twitching involuntarily. If that thing was impersonating Fisk, exploiting the mutant crisis, what's the endgame? And where's the real kingpin? Bucky stood, the weight of revelation pressing on him like a vice. Memories flooded back, his own fractured identity as the Winter Soldier, the years of being a puppet, a ghost in his own skin. If Fisk had been replaced, how deep did the deception run? Had they been fighting a shadow, a mimic pulling strings for some alien agenda? The cosmic wave from Thanos' snap had awakened the X-gene, but perhaps it had invited other threats, shapeshifters preying on Earth's chaos. "This changes everything," Bucky said, voice steady but laced with vulnerability. "I've spent decades questioning who I am, fighting to reclaim myself. Now facing this, it's like staring into a mirror of my worst fears. But we can't back down. If Skrulls are involved, they're using the mutant fear just like Fisk, or his double did. We infiltrate deeper, hit their core, starting with that prison cell." Doom inclined his head, respect evident in his measured tone. "A bold approach. My sorcery can detect such deceptions, illusions within illusions. But venturing into Rikers, the inmost cave of Fisk's empire, demands unwavering trust. One falter and we unravel." Murdoch nodded. "I'm with you. My senses pierced lies before, they'll do it again. But Bucky, this hits close for you, you sure?" Bucky met their gazes, courage blooming amid the doubt. "I'm sure because of you all. Steve gave me the shield to protect the vulnerable, to build something real. Facing this demon, my own or the world's, I'll do it with friends at my side." Walker cracked his knuckles. "Then let's gear up. If there's a real Fisk out there or more Skrulls, we end it." As the team mobilized, Bucky felt a surge of confidence, tempered by the raw edge of exposure. The shield gleamed under the lamplight, a beacon of perseverance. Outside, the city hummed with unrest, mutants and humans alike teetering on the brink. But within these walls, bonds of respect and trust fortified them against the encroaching storm. They slipped out under cover of night, heading toward Rikers. Doom's magic cloaked their approach, while Sam scouted from above, his search for new Avengers now urgent amid this galactic twist. The prison loomed like a fortress of secrets, its walls hiding truths that could shatter worlds. Bucky led the charge, confronting not just enemies but the echoes of his past, vulnerable, yet unbreakable in alliance. Rikers Island wore its silence like a threat. Doom's illusion held as they passed the outer checkpoint, guards standing rigid and glassy-eyed, their minds gently persuaded elsewhere. Bucky moved point, the shield low at his hip, the vibranium arm cold in the November air rolling off the East River. Sam was above, running dark, no lights, no wingbeats louder than a whisper. The rest of the team fanned out in practiced formation. Alina on Bucky's left, Murdoch ghosting along the perimeter wall with his fingertips brushing the brick, Walker flanking right, Tremors moving last, his palms pressed flat every dozen steps to read the ground beneath. Two heat signatures in the block where they found the body, Sam murmured through comms. Neither reads fully human. Heartbeats are wrong, too slow, too synchronized. Skrulls don't go solo, Alina said flatly. If there are two, there's a cell. If there's a cell, there's a handler. Murdoch stopped walking. 3 guards ahead, 2 of them smelled different, copper and something organic like the inside of a hospital but older. He paused. And I hear bulls, somewhere in the east corridor. That particular rhythm of his breathing, I'd know it anywhere. Bucky processed that. Bulls, I meant the real Fisk, or whoever had replaced him, had anticipated this visit. The whole assassination, the Skrull reveal, the chaos spilling out to the press. It had been choreographed. They'd walked into the second act of a play written before they'd read the first page. Change of approach, Bucky said. We split. Doom Murdoch take the east wing, contain Bullseye before he rabbits. Alina Tremors block the outer exits. Walker, you're with me. Walker glanced at him sidelong. The body. Evidence first, fight second. They found it in the forensics holding room, the shapeshifter's corpse splayed on a steel table under fluorescent lights. Up close, the illusion had fully collapsed. The skin carried a faint green iridescence, the bone structure subtly wrong, the ears tapered at an angle no human architect had designed. Bucky stood over it and felt something cold move through him that had nothing to do with the room's temperature. This thing ran a criminal empire, Walker said quietly. Gave speeches, shook hands, ordered hits, and nobody knew. I knew something was off, Bucky admitted. Fisk was always theatrical, but the mutant angle felt too clean, too accelerated, like someone who'd studied the playbook but didn't know the players. He pressed 2 fingers to the creature's wrist, an old field habit, and noticed the faint remnant of a signal emitter embedded beneath the skin, a sliver of alien tech, no larger than a grain of rice. Doom materialized in the doorway, his dark blue light curling around his hands as he scanned the device. A relay, Doom said. This individual was transmitting continuously. Location data, intelligence gathered, the full contents of Fisk's criminal network, sent off-world or to a local hub. The real Kingpin's empire has been mapped by whoever sent this infiltrator. The implication settled over them like a stone, dropped into still water. They're not here to rule Hell's Kitchen, Bucky said. They're cataloging Earth's power structures, criminal, political, superhuman. He looked at Sam through the comms link. Sam, the mutant's Fisk was recruiting. Already ahead of you, Sam said, his voice clipped with urgency. I'm picking up a crowd gathering 2 blocks east of Rikers. Looks like 50, 60 mutants, some of the ones Fisk's people had under their thumb. They're agitated, Cap, powers flaring, if this goes sideways. The explosion from the east corridor answered for him. Bucky sprinted toward the sound, Walker matching his stride. They came through the door in time to see Bullseye backflipping off a railing, his coat flaring, a dozen improvised projectiles suspended in the air between him and Murdoch. The lawyer-turned-devil held his ground, reading each trajectory, deflecting with his billy club in short, economic arcs. But Bullseye was grinning. And behind him, 2 more guards collapsed into green, Skrulls shedding their disguises, their features melting and reshaping into something broader, harder, built for violence. Bucky took the first one with the shield, a full-arm throw, the vibranium edge catching it across the temple with a concussive crack that echoed through the corridor. He caught the return without looking, muscle memory 2 decades deep. Walker drove into the second, shield first, pinning it to the wall with everything he had. Bullseye pivoted, and for one instant Bucky saw the calculation cross his face, the professional assessment, the percentage play. Then a shockwave rolled through the corridor floor, tremors having breached the perimeter and Bullseye's footing evaporated. Elena was through the side door before he could recover, paralysis gauntlet pressed against his neck, the fight going out of him in a single convulsion. Down, she said simply. Outside, the mutant crowd had reached the gates. Sam was talking to them through the external speakers, calm, steady, that particular tone Bucky had watched him cultivate over months, the voice of someone who'd chosen hope over authority. Doom emerged onto the outer steps and raised both hands, the stabilizer orb pulsing with soft blue-white light, its field expanding outward in gentle rings, taking the edge off the wildest power signatures without smothering them. Bucky stepped into the open air and looked at the crowd, young faces, frightened faces, people who'd been recruited and discarded and left to rage at walls. He held the shield where they could see it, not raised, just visible. "You've been used," he said, "by people who don't care about you. That ends tonight. We're not here to contain you, we're here because you deserve better." The crowd stilled, not fully but enough to breathe. Murdoch appeared at Bucky's shoulder. Bullseye's talking, minimal prompting required. A pause waited with everything unsaid. "Bucky, the real Fisk is already out. He's been free for days, and whoever pulled his strings, they know about all of us now. Names, faces, abilities, everything that Skrull transmitted." Bucky exhaled slowly, the shield heavy in his grip, and said nothing for a long moment. The river moved behind him, indifferent and dark. "Then we make sure what they know about us," he said finally, "is that we don't quit." The relay signal led them to Red Hook. Doom had extracted it from the Skrull's wrist in under 4 minutes, isolating the transmission frequency and running it against known alien communication architectures. The signal was terrestrial in origin, bounced off a satellite, yes, but sourced from a waterfront warehouse less than 3 miles from Rikers. Sam had them airborne and oriented before Bullseye finished being loaded into federal custody. "Frequency still active," Doom said through comms, his dark blue light flickering at his fingertips like something alive and impatient. "But degrading. Either the hub is automated and winding down, or whoever's running it already knows we traced the source." Bucky ran the numbers in his head the way Steve had taught him, not mathematics but probability, the way a soldier reads a situation before the first shot. How long? Minutes, perhaps less. They hit the warehouse hard, Elena through the skylight, Walker taking the loading bay door off its hinges with his shoulder, tremors sending a low shockwave through the foundation to scramble anyone standing. Bucky and Murdoch came through the main entrance together, one high, one low, the shield sweeping the room in a single arc. The Skrulls were gone. What they left behind was something quieter and far worse. The warehouse smelled of antiseptic and recycled air, the industrial ceiling hung with tubing and soft medical lights that hummed at the same frequency as a hospital's night ward. 12 pods, translucent cylinders, each the size of a standing human being, arranged in 2 rows, each one occupied. Bucky walked the row slowly, his boots loud in the silence. He recognized some faces only from photographs and news footage. A city councilwoman whose name he'd seen in Stryker's leaked correspondence. A precinct Captain Murdoch had flagged months ago as unusually cooperative with Fisk's interests. A UN liaison whose signature appeared on 3 of Doom's interagency documents. And at the far end, thick-necked and barrel-chested even in unconsciousness, unmistakably himself, Wilson Fisk. "The real one." Walker exhaled beside him. "He's been in here the whole time." "However long they needed," Bucky said. "Long enough to learn everything he knew, long enough to run his empire better than he could." Murdoch crouched beside the nearest pod and pressed his palm to the surface. "Heartbeats are stable, all of them. This wasn't meant to kill, it was meant to preserve. They needed living sources to maintain the imitation." Elena moved between the pods with clinical efficiency, checking seals, reading the small data panels at each base. "Sedation compound is synthetic but metabolizable. They'll wake up on their own within hours. The question is what they remember." "Nothing," Doom said from behind them. He stood at a workbench near the rear wall, scanning the remains of the transmission hub. A scorched tangle of alien tech and jury-rigged terrestrial components, still faintly warm. Whatever they experienced, if anything, will read as a gap. Asleep without dreams. He paused, studying a component that pulsed once and went dark beneath his fingers. "They transmitted everything. Fisk's network, his contacts, his knowledge of this city's infrastructure, both criminal and civic. The breadth of it is, he stopped himself. Significant. Bucky stood over Fisk's pod and looked at the man's face. Even sedated, even powerless, there was something in the set of that jaw that radiated weight. He thought about what the Skrull version had done in this man's body. The speeches, the fear-mongering, Stryker's campaign built on manufactured hatred of people whose only crime was surviving the snap with something new inside them. He thought about Leela, about the young mutant in the Brooklyn warehouse, about every frightened face he'd seen in the crowd outside Rikers. None of that had been Wilson Fisk's work. It had been someone wearing him. And somehow that made it both simpler and more complicated. We wake them slowly, Bucky said, all of them, medical supervision, and we record everything about this room before anything is touched. He looked at Sam. Everything. Sam already had his phone out, moving methodically through the space. Ahead of you. Tremors had his palms on the floor, reading whatever vibrations the earth still carried. Nothing moving toward us. We're clear for now. He looked up at Bucky with something that might have been relief. We actually did it, didn't we? Bucky thought about that. The answer wasn't simple enough for the word yes. We found what we came for, he said. That's a start. Doom joined him beside Fisk's pod, arms folded, the orb cycling quietly at his belt. The transmission is severed. Whatever they sent, it arrived at its destination before we could intercept it. Someone off-world or elsewhere now has a detailed map of this city's vulnerabilities, criminal and otherwise. He met Bucky's eye with a directness that carried no apology. We cannot undo that. We can only ensure that when they use what they learned, we are ready. Then we use what we have, Bucky said. He turned to address the team, all of them together in the pale medical light of that warehouse, looking back at him with something he only recently had learned to accept as trust. We have evidence, we have living witnesses, we have the Skrull corpse and the relay tech. We put all of it in front of every journalist, every UN body, and every intelligence agency that will look at it. We make this too loud to bury. Murdoch allowed himself a small, measured smile. I know a few people at the Daily Bugle who owe me a favor. I know a few people everywhere, Alina said. Outside, the East River caught the first gray edge of dawn. Somewhere above them, Sam had already opened a channel to James Rhodes. The world, Bucky thought, had a habit of moving fast when you finally stopped running from it. He pressed 2 fingers briefly to the vibranium of his arm, an old soldier's habit, checking what was still whole, and walked back to his team. The morning sun breached the shattered skylight of the Red Hook warehouse, casting long, sharp shadows across the concrete floor. The silence that had initially smothered the room was gone, replaced by the chaotic symphony of federal agents, medical personnel, and the hum of emergency generators. Bucky Barnes stood at the edge of the perimeter, his vibranium arm resting against the cold edge of Steve's shield. He watched as medics carefully extracted the victims from their translucent stasis pods. Sam Wilson touched down with a soft metallic thud, his wings retracting smoothly into his pack. He offered Bucky a tired but genuine smile. Rhodey is handling the UN liaisons. The Skrull corpse is already en route to a secure black site, and every ounce of data Alina dumped onto the dark web is flooding the morning news. Stryker's campaign is effectively ashes. And the mutants? Bucky asked, his gaze drifting toward the loading bay where Victor Von Doom was speaking in hushed, authoritative tones to a team of hazmat-suited technicians. Safe, Sam replied. Doom's stabilizer tech worked. The kids are being processed by social workers who actually give a damn, not Fisk's hired muscle. They aren't scared anymore, Bucky. They saw Captain America stand up for them. They saw you. Bucky absorbed the words, feeling the weight of the shield against his thigh. It didn't feel like a borrowed burden anymore. It felt like a promise he was finally capable of keeping. We didn't just save them from the Skrulls, he said quietly. We saved them from what Fisk was going to turn them into. Across the room, a heavy, ragged gasp echoed over the din. Wilson Fisk had opened his eyes. Bucky crossed the floor with deliberate, measured steps. The medic stepped back instinctively as Captain America approached the kingpin of New York. Fisk was pale, his massive frame trembling slightly from the aftereffects of the synthetic sedation. He braced himself against the steel edge of the pod, his dark eyes darting around the warehouse, calculating his shattered reality. You have been asleep, Fisk, Bucky said, his voice carrying a calm authority that silenced the immediate area. For quite some time. Fisk slowly focused on Bucky, his lip curling into a sneer that lacked its usual venom. Barnes, what is this theatrical nonsense? Where is my lawyer? Your lawyer is likely facing federal indictment. Matt Murdock stepped out from the shadows behind Bucky, adjusting his crimson glasses. Along with your campaign manager, your enforcers, and half your precinct captains. The empire you thought you were running from Rikers. It was hijacked. An alien infiltrator wore your face, stole your network, and broadcast your entire operation to the stars. Fisk's breathing hitched. The absolute control he so desperately craved had been violently stripped from him without his knowledge. Lies, he rumbled, though the tremor in his massive fists betrayed his doubt. I am the city. I am its necessary shadow. You're a relic, Bucky corrected him, leaning slightly closer. The world changed while you were dreaming in that tube. The people with the X gene, the ones you and Stryker tried to weaponize through fear, they aren't your scapegoats anymore. They are under my protection, under our protection. Bucky gestured to Sam, Murdoch, and the approaching figures of John Walker and Alina Belova. Your shadow is gone, Fisk. Get used to the light. Bucky turned his back on the crime lord, a deliberate act of dismissal, and walked away as the federal marshals moved in to place the real Wilson Fisk under arrest. An hour later, the team gathered on the roof of a nearby shipping office. The East River glittered under the ascending sun. The exhaustion was palpable, etched into their bruised faces and battered armor, but beneath it lay a profound sense of unity. They had survived Typhoid Mary's flames, Taskmaster's relentless assault, and the psychological warfare of the Skrull deception. They had done it through trust. John Walker adjusted his combat harness, giving Bucky a respectful nod. I didn't think we could pull it off. I didn't think we could hold the line without tearing each other apart. We're stronger together, John, Bucky said, offering his hand. Walker took it, the grip firm and lacking its former rivalry. You proved that today. Matthew Darling sat on the edge of the parapet, his boots dangling over the sheer drop. So, what happens now? The fake Fisk is dead, the real one is going back to a much deeper hole, and the mutant kids are safe. Do we just go back to our day jobs? Victor Von Doom stepped forward, the dark blue magic of his stabilizing orb completely extinguished, replaced by cold, hard logic. The danger is far from past, Tremors. The transmission we intercepted sent vast quantities of data regarding Earth's tactical vulnerabilities to an unknown recipient. We have excised the rot from New York, but we have signaled to the cosmos that our defenses are severely compromised. Sam crossed his arms, looking out over the sprawling skyline. Victor's right. The Skrulls mapped out our power structures. Whoever received that data knows who we are. They know what we can do. Bucky stood beside Sam, the morning wind catching his jacket. He thought of Steve Rogers, of the legacy passed down to him in a quiet Brooklyn apartment. Steve had believed in perseverance. He had believed that when the world needed a shield, someone would rise to carry it. But Steve had also known that a shield was never enough on its own. We can't just react the next time, Bucky said, his gaze fixed on the horizon. We need a permanent response. We survived this because we fought as a unit. But if an invasion is coming, if they're targeting mutants, governments, and infrastructure, a temporary alliance won't cut it. Sam turned to him, a knowing smile breaking through his exhaustion. I've been looking at candidates for months. I've got the files. I've got the logistics. And Victor here has the UN backing to give us the clearance we need. It is the logical progression, Doom agreed, adjusting his immaculate cuffs. Latveria will sponsor the initiative. Earth requires its champions organized. We need to assemble, Bucky said, the word tasting right, carrying a century of history and a future of hope. He looked at Sam, then at Alina, Walker, Murdoch, and Tremors. A new team, the new Avengers. Sam clapped a hand on Bucky's shoulder, the gesture cementing their enduring friendship. I'm in, but you're leading them, Cap, you earned it. Bucky looked down at the vibranium shield. The red, white, and blue gleamed brightly, free of the shadows of his past. He wasn't the Winter Soldier anymore. He wasn't just a man out of time trying to honor a ghost. He was Captain America, and he was finally ready to lead. Then let's get to work, Bucky said. The city below them hummed with new life, unaware of the cosmic threats looming in the dark, but protected by a forged alliance that would not break.